Welcome to the Heavy Revy Show, where our purpose is to share revelation that will inspire you to grow in your walk with God, leadership, and relationship with others. To stay connected with the show, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes Podcasts, and Spotify by subscribing to the Heavy Revy Show. I'm super excited for you to hear this message, so here's our host, Josue Ibarra.
All right, and welcome to the Heavy Revy Show. We are on our segment, Wednesday's Word from the Wise, and I have a special guest with us, Clay Caldwell. Super excited to have him on here, guys. Just a powerful man of the Lord, and man, he has a powerful testimony, just a powerful prodigal story of him coming back to the Lord. We're not going to dive into that conversation today, but I do have in the show notes of an insider story of Andrew Womack actually interviewing Clay, talking about his awesome, just story coming back to the Lord. So I encourage you to go check that out. But today what we're going to dive into is just more, Clay has come back, and he is doing some amazing things here at Charis Bible College, and now, he's just been leading teams, building up people, and he's doing some exciting stuff that, he likes putting the fun in, functional or, foundation. He definitely puts the fun in funerals, so it's awesome. So, we're going to go ahead and dive in this conversation, so just stay tuned, and we're excited for you guys to grow from this little Heavy Revy from Clay. So, Clay, thank you so much for having us on the show, boss.
So good to be here today with you, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. So, Clay, just one of the things that has just inspired me, just by kind of observing you, just your walk with the Lord, your leadership here at school, is just your heart to always grow. Like I see yourself putting, Facebook pictures of all the books you've read, all the 14s you climber, 14s you've climbed, not 14 recliners, but, definitely not a recliner there. And, at one moment you're like dumping yourself in like ice water.
Oh, yeah.
So you're always it seems like you're always pushing yourself. You're always, really growth hungry. So what kind of got you on this venture, man?
So that's a loaded question. Where do I even start with that? I think some of the story is, sometimes for me, I didn't grow up feeling smart.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I just felt like
sure. All the gray hairs on your
you
head.
could
wisdom without the whiz. It's just dumb.
But you grow up and you compare yourself to other people, and it's like they just have like they just get it a lot faster than for me it was. That like it was really hard for me to study, and studying and being in school was just a bore to me. I always wanted to be out doing things, right. And I don't know. I had one teacher when I was working on some college courses. It was a creative writing class, and I just remember writing something, and he stopped the class when I read it, and he goes, "Class, stop what you're doing." That right there, what he just said, and I was like, "Are you pointing at me?" And it was like the first time I ever felt smart,
Yeah.
And I knew that I had good, I'm just charismatic, and
right.
There are certain skills and stuff that I have that I know that I have, but just being smart was like one of those things. I was smart at certain things, but I wasn't smart at everything.
Sure.
And so, I don't know. I think coming to Charis, like when I came to Charis in 2012, I didn't feel like a student or a good student. I just felt like at any point in time. At the time, Barry Bennett was the dean, and I felt like at any point in time I'm going to get called into his office, and they're going to tell me, "Thank you for your time at Charis. You've been dismissed." Just because I just had that kind of a weight. But I think as I've grown at Charis, I've found my identity, and that I am a smart person. And I think if you're listening to this right now and you feel like kind of connect to this, you're smart. And it's kind of the same kind of analogy of if you want to look like a bodybuilder, what do? You go to the gym, you start, really focusing on what you eat. Yeah. And so I think there was like a real catalyst for me. I go to this, since 2012, I've been going to this thing called Global Leadership Summit. We're actually hosting that here this year. Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah. So I get a lot of my books and stuff from that conference. And I think my journey really began I've always somewhat dabbled in some leadership books. I've had some good mentors that said, "Hey, read these books." And reading for me, like sitting down with the book, is a really hard, very difficult thing for me to do because my brain is thinking like off the rails at 100.
Back in that classroom again, it's like I want to get on and do something, or
Yeah, but more than that, it's like my brain just thinks in
Sure. Yeah.
hyper speed. So I'll read one line, or something else that's going on in my life will take dominance while I'm reading, and so I have to go back and read. I'll be like 2 or 3 pages past the point where I stop reading, and have to go back in and kind of dive into that. And so I was just really, I just made a decision a couple of years ago. After one of that GLS is like, I'm going to get some of these books from this conference, which I was always getting books from it, but they would just sit on the shelf. So it was like, I'm just going to dedicate my time. I'm going to read like one book a month. That'll be like a goal. And well, if I do, I don't, whatever.
Yeah.
And to I'm kind of jumping around here, but kind of that drive for more leadership, knowledge kind of thing was birthed when I was here.
Yeah.
Because I just kept seeing how the ministry here is growing at a fast, rapid pace.
Yeah.
And if you're not growing, you're going to get left behind. I'm not saying that's what happens to people. That's just the way that
well, it's true. I mean, I've seen it happen to people where, you know what I mean? Like they either feel like they have it all, or they don't have that desire, that same. Because there's some people that have it, man, and they're pursuing it. Then there's others that just like, I'm fine just doing what I'm doing. But you can tell, those are the people that are not receptive to change as much. But those who are growth hungry are like, I want to continue to grow. Change is always on the mind. Something new is always coming up. Something like, I want to go after it. That drive, it seems like.
That's something that is so crucial to being the best leader you possibly can. Again, if you're tuning into this right now, it is all about changing all the time. If you're not ready for the next change, the bus could be going down the highway at 120 miles an hour. And if you're not ready for change, it takes a quick right turn. You get thrown from the bus. And so with that kind of mentality, it's like I'm always like, what TED Talk can I listen to? Even people that I don't even agree with.
Yeah.
That are kind of popular speakers. It's not like I'm trying to partner with them, but a lot of times I listen to somebody that, I was thinking about this one book, Rules for Radicals. Okay. I heard somebody recommend it to me because I was reading a whole lot of stuff. And I mean, it's just kind of a terrible, just manipulation of society is really what I got out of the book. Wow. And if you've read that, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And like some political leaders use it as their thesis. But I mean, really manipulating society for your own good is kind of what I got out of the book. And but yeah, I listen to and read stuff. But also, if you ask what my favorite book is, it's obviously the Bible. I'm always going to go back to that. But I love leadership books, and so like I read whatever I feel kind of led to or drawn to, or recommended or something like that, because I want to just be sharp.
Sure. No.
And if you just stay in one lane, you're only influenced by that.
Yeah.
But if you kind of open up, and again, Christians that are listening to this don't get all bent out of shape. I feel like, you need to be led by your, the conscience that God's given you and stuff like that. And at the same time, it's like I feel like I have a little more freedom, and have a good foundation, and I can kind of explore some other speakers.
You can tell what's, good to eat on and what's, bones to spit out.
Yeah.
Just like when you eat chicken, you just chew on that meat, good stuff, bones, throw that out. And so, I mean, that's...
If you're thriving in leadership, you're using biblical principles.
Amen. Yeah. And what you'll
whether
see
you know it or not.
when you start looking at, even these books that are, and I'm only calling this just for my, my audience that are Christian, but like, secular stuff, you'll start seeing like, hey, that's a biblical principle there. Oh, that's a biblical principle there. You'll start seeing it in those books, and they don't even know, which is pretty neat. But you brought something out, about, you really enjoyed reading and really love getting into content. What is probably like one of your most favorite books that you ever read? That's
so hard. That really is just difficult.
Obviously, like you said, besides the Bible, obviously, we're built and inspired by the Word, but just leadership. Like, let's say a young leader comes to you and just says, hey, man, I want to grow in my leadership. That's what I want to do. I want to be a leader. This is something I'm new to. What is probably one thing you would recommend to them to check out? I
have like a top list of things. I want to kind of, before I answer that question, I want to backtrack to like the difficulty in reading. If you're listening to this, I really found such a strong resource in Audible and like audiobooks.
Okay.
Because I would get like the hard copy book and the Audible and listen to it while I was reading, and it really kind of dialed me in. And I could adjust the speed because if my brain's thinking so fast, I'll crank up the speed to the level of where I'm comprehending, or take a break.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
That's so unique though, man. Like seriously, like so I know for myself when I'll try to like dive into audios, and I guess my mind is just slow at times. This is like I won't catch it all, but when I read, I can catch most of it. But you're the opposite, whereas like I try to read. And so, I mean, like, if you guys are listening, that's an encouragement. So, you know, you can be looking at somebody and just saying, well, that guy's reading and he's writing on his book. He's highlighting that thing. He's journaling stuff down. You know, I can't do that. You know, I'm just not built or wired that way.
Yeah.
But there, you know, here's Clay as a great example of someone who does not do that, who listens, but yet pulls out such great content, and not only, you know, pulls out where we can talk about it here on the podcast, but pulls out where he can actually apply it. So don't feel bad if you're that person looking at the other guy like, oh my gosh, he must be on his grind, he must be super awesome, he's reading, he's writing it down, he's highlighting it. You don't have to be that kind of person. You know, Clay's a perfect example of someone who can just give me a listen. I listen to it, I got it, I'll run with it.
Yeah.
So
this day and time, you have zero excuses to be able to propel yourself into greatness. I mean, really. I mean, if you're a Christian, you're already ahead of the game with just, and especially knowing your purpose and your identity in Jesus and that kind of thing. But to be a leader with that kind of skill set, but also like just the things at your fingertips where you can go to YouTube. You can type in anything that you want to learn about and get going. Right. And then it's like a chain reaction. That's what I found. That I'm going to answer your question about what's my favorite books, but you know, this chain reaction of like the more you get exposed to things, the more things that you didn't know, and now you need to learn about specific topics that you didn't even know were there. Yeah. You know, and so I'll answer your question now. So I have to cheat a little bit and look at my Audible account because there really are just so many good books. I think if you're listening to this for your first time and you're like, hey, you know what? I've just had an interest in leadership. I've never done anything about it. I want to take my first step. I mean, anything by John Maxwell will get your foot in the door. Yeah,
definitely.
I think you can pick up any of his books and just get going.
My first leadership
book
I really dove into. John Maxwell, Developing the Leader Within You. I took on a junior high group back at CCC in beginning of 15, and the guy who's leading it, you know, he gave me that book. He said, "Here, man, take a read," and I read it the first couple pages, and I was like, you know, whatever. It didn't take me till like a year after that then to really dive into that. Began my journey of like diving into content.
He's really good about easy reading material. Couple of solid points you can just take and run with right off the bat, and then I don't know. So I'm kind of cheating looking at my Audible account. I just finished Crucial Conversations. It was my second pass through that. Joseph Greeny is one of the authors. There's several guys that got together. Really, this book is just talking about how do you maintain composure when you're in a really intense conversation. Because our natural gifts or our natural instincts are to attack people,
right? And get really defensive. And
you're stupid, and I'm better than you. And when you get there, you've lost the whole part of what your goal is, and that's this content or these conversations that need to happen when like they're high stakes. How do you manage yourself, and how do you stay as a leader? How do you keep contributing? They call it the pool of meaning. When you close the pool, then you've lost. You know, when you're not contributing to this pool of meaning with the people that you're having this intense conversation with, it could be a spouse, it could be a business project that you're passionate, you're trying to push through. And to be able to maneuver through those conversations and keep your cool, it's a hands down. It's my second pass through that book. I highly recommend that. Let's see here. Anything by Patrick Lencioni is a slam dunk. He's easy to read, but just drives on some solid, you know, he's always got content. Have you read any of his stuff?
I've actually never read any of his stuff.
Okay, so Death by Meeting is one. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've been in a meeting and it's like, oh God, please make this meeting get over. But like as a leader, you need to know, like when you're the person that has signed up people to be in a meeting, you better bring it. Yeah. And so if you're not thinking in terms of that,
talk to them, Clay.
Yeah. If your meeting is an hour, why is it an hour? Does it have that much content, or do you just need to go in there and say, "Hey, I need to"?
It's a routine that you're doing. Right?
Yeah. And the Death by Meeting was one that just talks about the different types of meeting. So if you're just needing to do like a pep rally, 5 minutes gets it done. Hey, everybody, work day starts at 8, but at 7:55, I want everybody in my office.
Nice.
This is our focus for the day. Go get them, Tiger. And then there's other strategic meetings where you need to probably get off campus and have like a couple of days where your team is like, this is our quarterly goal. This is our annual goal. These are, the type of meetings. He's got another one, the ideal team player, and how you as, even if you're not the boss, maybe you're just an influencer. How can you?
Talk and dive more on that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I know we're gonna answer that question.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
How long is this show?
You just
Hour and a
gotta
half.
stay
I
on
got
there.
content, bro.
You just gotta stay with us.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there, okay? But explain more on that, because that's something that I'm really passionate about as well. Because here, at my job, obviously I'm not the head honcho. I'm not, el jefe, of the whole ministry. You know what I mean? And a lot of people can relate a lot more to these certain things where we look at different teachings and different material where it's really guided toward the head honcho, the one who's really in charge, where you have middle managers, middle supervisors that are kind of looking like, well, it's not my ship to control or move, or at least that's the mindset people carry, right? So dive more into that. Like,
Great.
Expound on that.
Okay, influencer. How can you be an influencer at work?
Yes.
When you there's a great book Clay Scroggins wrote. It's called How to Lead When You're Not in Charge.
Nice.
And that's a good place to go if you're like, we just hit a nerve with you. It's like, I'm not the boss. I have so many great ideas. I can see how to now. Before we jump into that a little bit, how self-aware are you? How socially aware of you are you of yourself? I mean, do you ask questions to really know? Do you know what I mean by that? Like self-awareness?
Just like what, knowing your gifts, knowing your, just the people that you do have influence with now, or?
There's a couple of good talks on YouTube if you look up Why Incompetent People Think They're Amazing. That's the name of it. Why Incompetent People Think They're Amazing. And it's really the
there's something else I'm thinking of, but no, that's all.
Really, you need to know where you are before you can tell anybody else where to go. And so, like, if you look at yourself in this map, it's like, I really ask a lot of questions. Even when I do meetings, I'm like, give me feedback. Was this helpful? Was the content that I brought today even relevant to you? Or was this a waste of your time? If it was a waste of your time, then I need to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out how to really bring it. That's, again, if you're calling meetings, you need to make them, you need to be action packed. That when people get a meeting invite from you, it's like, I can't wait to go to this meeting because I know it is going to be great and it is going to be efficient. But just being an influencer, I'll piggyback around, but being an influencer, you might have the best ideas on the planet. You kind of want to start out with, it might be in your mind the best idea on the planet.
Sure.
But you need to be a better salesman about getting your ideas and pitching it.
Yeah.
Because
come on, dude, you're preaching. No, I've been in places where it's like, this is so good, and I tell somebody, and right when it comes out of my mouth, it's like, that was stupid. Like, what did I just say? Like, oops. But they help me. They help me build it out to, thank God you talked to somebody else before you.
I got this friend.
Okay.
Here's the story, right? I got this friend, and he has a real hard time. He's very passionate, but has a very hard time understanding how to communicate with people. And so, we were talking, and he's pitching me this idea, right?
Right.
And so, the way he's pitching it to me is that you're stupid for not ever thinking about it. Not in those quote, but
But that's the connotation.
Yeah, it's like, you're so dumb, you're not even doing this. I'm like, okay, tell me more.
It's like, yo, man, that's great, man.
Tell me more about this stupid idea that I haven't thought of yet. Again, the delivery, the passion and stuff is there, but like, how are you selling your great idea? And this is all comes to you being self-aware of like, when I say something, how is it going to impact the person? Are they going to like receive it, or are they going to,
Cringe.
Yeah. Michael Scott on The Office. Do you watch The Office?
I've seen clips from The Office. I won't front
He
say.
is a classic poster child of like zero self-awareness.
Michael Scott, is that the dude with the glasses?
It's,
No,
no.
that's stinking
Yeah.
Evan Almighty, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell.
Yeah. So anyways, it's just zero self-awareness, but it's always very pushy but anyway, like for you, you've got this great idea. How are you pitching and selling your idea? Are you telling the person that you want to, are you bringing a candy basket with words? Are you bringing like, setting them up
Yeah.
with your idea. It's like, hey, I've got this great idea. I'd love to share and see where this could be a good partnership with you, boss man. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so however you want to sell your idea and then be okay for them to say no, you need to be okay with that. Because it might not be a now great idea. And so, several of the things that I've done here at Karis have been like, I've got great ideas, and maybe I don't try to sell the biggest idea I can possibly do. And that's like, maybe I want to bring Jeremy Camper, like a big worship leader here.
Nice.
That's not my first order of business.
Sure.
I start with doing these Karis Now. We have this thing for students called Karis Now, night of worship, night of whatever. It's one of the things we do here with worship and something. Yeah. And so for the past 2 years, I've just been building this community thing. On Friday night, you can expect to get fed, and then there's going to be worship, and then something fun.
Nice.
Fun might just be fellowship like we're doing over the summer now. But yeah, so I've got visions to bring, bigger, like a big ticket item, but I need to have all these wins in a row to get the
build up to that.
Yeah.
By the way, Karis, that's foreshadowing.
Yeah, Phil Wickham is another guy that I've reached out to, and there's just some other worship guys that I want to bring in that are just kind of adding some value to the already. I mean, we don't need to add any more value here, but I'm just thinking like, how do we bring people together, and then, that's a whole rabbit trail I'm not going to go down.
No,
but
you're good. But I love the concept of like you're getting those little wins now, taking over these little territories to the point where boom, I'm ready to hit this home run.
I want to do this thing, and this is my track record.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Boom. Look at that.
I'm always looking for the yes. If it's not now, you're going to give me the yes. Right. Because it's not that I've like, I'm being arrogant or a jerk about it. It's like, these are the things I think will bring extreme value. But for me to do this, I want to build this trust. So, listen to me. Get those little small wins under your belt. Yeah. And when you do that, then you've got like some kind of, like a savings account.
Yeah, no, something that you can pull back to.
Yeah.
That's really important for people to have, that track record, because that put confidence in you. So as people who are not in management, people who are not in charge, maybe it's not the focus to always, try to bring in that big win right now, but get those little wins, those little consistencies, like little consistencies where you're being really consistent, really faithful in those things. And that's biblical too. You're faithful in this little small things. Now I'm going to reward you with much.
I'm a 10 talent dude.
Come on.
But I used to be a 1 talent dude.
I was going to say, no, and that's awesome. Because no one ever touches on the fact of, 10 talents, 20 talents, whatever talents. But, that didn't start there. You started somewhere just one. Yeah. But you have to build to that through your faithfulness and through getting those wins, man. I mean, that's...
And then, ask yourself, like, whatever project, again, we're in this influencer, when you're not in charge topic, ask yourself, are you being impulsive? Could this great idea wait a week? Could it wait 2 weeks? Could it wait a month or 3 months or a year or 2 years? Yeah. And then when you move out of being impulsive, you kind of remove all these emotions out of the way. You get kind of clarity on like, what, if I did this small thing here and then did another small thing here, these things are building blocks to this big grandiose idea that I want to do. And so again, kind of looping back, are you being impulsive, or can you be patient and think about the long game? Because a lot of things that I'm about to launch this year, I want people that have graduated from Karis to be mad that I wasn't the student life activities manager. I want them to come back and I want if you're listening, you're alumni, I want you to you come back for a 5th or 6th year or something like that, just to do all the fun stuff. But again, long game. If you can really think in terms of long game, it can add a lot more value by the time you execute it. So,
Come on, man. All right, looping around just because running a little bit low on time, which is okay. This stuff is going really good, and if we have to make this longer, hey, make it longer. I'm cool with that. But just kind of circling back to that question that we originated with, man. If someone's who's just getting into leadership,
okay,
they come to you now, Clay, man, what should I dive into? Obviously, you said anything Maxwell.
Crucial, really like just some of these advanced stuff that they're not even really advanced. I think once you start, if you pursue leadership books and just start reading, you'll see a common theme run across them. And with John Maxwell, he's just written so many books. he gets to a place where, for me, I feel like he's got like really good ideas. Maybe it needs to be like a small book. You know?
Yeah.
But anything by Patrick Lencioni, check that out. Simon Sinek, How to Lead Start with Why is a really good book. I'm cheating here. Boundaries by Henry Cloud. He was a speaker here at the Kingdom Business Summit. That was really good. Necessary Endings is another really good book by him. And that is just something like, when you read it, it's like, what can I let go of right now to go get more? His whole analogy in that book is a rose bush. If you want the best roses, you're cutting limbs off.
Come on, dude.
You're cutting limbs off because this is not producing, and there's no way for me to bring it back. It's got to go. You got to trim down, and really, what is it that you want to do, and focus on that, and don't say yes to everything. Once you start learning how to say no, you can trim off a lot of stuff that will really help you be laser focused on whatever it is that you might be bogged down so much with activities and stuff. Once you let them go, you can really find your calling. This is deep. And this is what I'm supposed to do. It might be missions, but I'm doing all these short-term missions when I need to be in Kenya, starting a church there, or I need to be, starting a church in the rural community of Kentucky.
Yeah.
But you're so busy with doing all this busy work because you feel that's giving you life purpose, and it's not. So to be able to, cut off some things. Let's see here. Yeah, I mentioned How to Lead When You're Not in Charge by Clay Scroggins. I'm a big Enneagram guy, but I'm not like weird about it. So if you know about it, I'm not going to be, oh, you're totally a 7. You're, calling out. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, it's like a 9 graph that really, basically as a child, you kind of adapt to one of these different 9 type characteristics. I'm an achiever. I'm a number 3 on the Enneagram. And like, if you look at my office, I've got like plaques, all my 14er victories.
Nice.
Obviously, it's like, this is what I do is a big thing for me. But The Road Back to You is a really good book. I like it out of all the personality tests, like, Myers-Briggs. Help me out here. What are some other, Myers-Briggs?
Man, I just know Myers-Briggs. That's the one that I kind of mess around with. I know there's
Strength Finders. There's several personality. You take these tests, and then they tell you about yourself and whatever. But the thing I like about Enneagram is it talks about you, and then in The Road Back to You, it really talks about how you and your number operate with other numbers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, like, you might, like, if the 8 is a challenger,
Yeah.
and so their whole life, they feel intense connection by arguing. Not all the time, but I mean,
Right.
like you might go, that dude is
I'm a
so
couple friends
angry.
who are number 8s.
It's like, you are such a jerk, and that person leaves the conversation going, man, I had the best conversation with Clay today.
No, I definitely have some 8 friends.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is like when you actually get to know them and you understand that. So I never understood them as like an 8. I just understood them as a different, okay.
We're
that's
all
your
wired
4,
so
your
different.
5. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we're, back to it, guys. If you can only listen to stuff and not read, that's okay. For me, I have to read it. If I listen to it, I might like, huh? But if I read it though and see it, I can understand it. For Clay, man, if you can listen to it, he can understand it. He got it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's just, he's really challenging. Always like, pushing buttons here or there, but it's nothing malice though. For us, sometimes, or different, personality types, they can take that as like, oh, what a jerk, whatever. But in reality, no, they're doing that in love because if they want, they were to show you something, a project, they want you to call things out and not be quiet about it either.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Road Back to You is a great book, and it really does kind of highlight your number. If you're a healthy 3, like for me to be like a unhealthy 3, it's like I airbrush everything to make it seem like it's so much better. If you tell me like you just had this great victory in something in your life, and me as an unhealthy 3 would tell you, well, that's great that you did that, but I'm better because I did this. Kind of thing, Anyway, again, it kind of goes back to that self-awareness thing, which is so crucial for a leader to be really aware of where you are and how your, what you're saying to people impacts others.
yeah.
Because you really want to be leading people and not domineering and all that stuff. Love Jordan Peterson. 12 Rules of Life is awesome. We saw him when he came to Pikes Peak Center here in Colorado.
Nice.
He's well thought. I just like the way his mind thinks.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a deep thinker.
Yeah, him and Ben Shapiro. I like watching Ben Shapiro in his debates and stuff. He's hilarious.
He destroys people. Awesome.
I thought The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg, I think is how you say his last name, was really good, and it really just kind of capitalizes on how to change any behavior. You look at the cues, whatever it is, the cue, and then what the reward is. So if you have a bad habit in your life, really, if you just keep falling at this whatever in your life, look at what the cue is that is triggering you to go do whatever that bad thing is, and then change your reward system, because you're rewarding yourself for this bad habit, and then you feel bad and all this other kind of stuff like that, right? So if you look at the cue, focus on what the cue is, and when you know that cue's coming up, you need to figure out a better reward for yourself. So that's that in Malcolm Gladwell, Blink, The Tipping Point. He's got a bunch of great books out there. Who else? I'm trying to think of some really good ringers here. I like Gary Vaynerchuk, but if you don't like language, don't listen to him. He cusses a whole lot, but he's really he really causes you to act, get into action. If you're feeling like in a slump, go look up Gary V. Again, he cusses a lot, so don't.
Just pray up. You'll
Yeah,
be okay.
yeah. Yeah, those are some good books that I think are worth. Somebody else, and you were kind of looping around to the 30-day challenges that I was doing. I still need to do some, because I've kind of coming out of my really busy season and want to focus on that. But I like Tim Ferriss. Okay. He's not a believer, but he's just such an experimenter with things. Okay. He just does all kind of really cool experiments on himself, and it kind of triggered, what is your human body capable of? What has God really given your body to be able to do? And the 30-day challenges were kind of birthed out of that. And then this other, I think it was just a TED Talk that I heard. Yeah. This guy talking about taking cold showers helps you overcome life problems. And I was like, that's stupid. I'm not going to do it. And then Tim Ferriss talked about it in one of his books, talking about ice baths. I'm like, that's stupid. Why would anybody want to do that? And then I think Tony Robbins had talked about it too. And I was like, oh my gosh. I don't just jump off a bridge because somebody says it. But when I start seeing it kind of trending with some people that I like to listen to, I'm like, oh, okay. Let's see what happens here. So I started doing these 30-day challenges about a year and a half ago, where so the first one was the ice bath challenge. Yeah. And so this TED Talk, you can look it up, why to take cold showers or something like that. But by willingly putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation helps you navigate hard things in life when they come at you. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I tried the cold shower, and I couldn't do it. I wouldn't stay in. I'd jump out. I was like, ah!
Yeah, I remember those days from football, man. Yeah. Anytime our legs were really sore, we had to get in that thing. And that was not something out of a challenge or anything out of, I think this would be fun. This is like, we used to beg coach, oh, come on. I'm not that bad. Nope, go in the ice shower.
Yeah. So if you
put yourself through that.
Yeah, so I knew the cold shower wouldn't work for me, so ice bath. That is a commitment. So the first day I got a couple of bags of ice at the gas station, filled up the tub, and that was a commitment. I couldn't jump out of it. It was that complete submersion. So I did 30 days of that, where it was at least 5 to 7 minutes in, and every day I just, at the end of the day, jumped in. And it was weird because there was some sort of activity that I had to do at the end of that, because I was really trying to see. I wanted to be I wasn't trying to pick fights or anything like that, but I really wanted to. I wanted to be in some kind of combative situation or have something bad happen to me. I'm not wishing this, but again, I wanted to see if there's any truth to the thing. So at the end of the 30-day challenge, I was in this thing where I was super uncomfortable. Mentally, I was like, I do not want to do this at all. I'm in public doing this with other people, and I don't want to do this at all. But okay, we'll do it, because it's not nearly as bad as the ice bath that's coming later. Yeah. So I did that one. I did a no sugar for 30 days. I was reading, again, I read a lot, so it gives me ideas what happens if you go vegan? Excuse me. I didn't do vegan. I did what? Did I do vegan or vegetarian? No, I did as close to vegan as I possibly could. Yeah. And I did 30 days of that. Some of my vegan friends told me I didn't do it properly because I just used like tofu from the store and I didn't really go all hardcore raw. But it's still, I mean, it's like one of those things. Like again, you know, if you're a Christian and you're listening to this, you know, that fasting is a great thing. It's always good to tell your body no.
Yeah.
And so I was like kind of limiting it to 30 days. What can you do in 30 days to really change a trajectory in your life? So no sugar for 30 days. What happened? It was really weird in that I felt like my stomach, like tingling, and it was like it took me a while to get over the sugar, you know, but my stomach was like telling me I was hungry, and I really wasn't hungry. It was just
Right. It's just,
give me sugar,
right.
give me,
It's creative.
feed me, Seymour. Yeah, so I did that. I did a mile a day, which is not like that big of a deal if you're a runner or anything like that. But if you're busy doing conferences and it's like you have to go, am I going to take a nap in my little window of opportunity or am I going to do my mile? And so I did a mile a day every day for 30 days. I'm up for doing something soon. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just up for kind of anything that's, you know, and as a leader, you're just, for me, it's like I want to try as many things as I possibly can that is just kind of shifting me out of my day-to-day routine. Maybe, and I've thought about like a book where I do like get unstuck in 30 days. And you can do any one of these little challenges that I've done and, you know, chart your, you know, journey with doing it. And, you know, because I feel a lot of the stuff I do is birthed out of like hardships in my life or, you know, if you watch my story the inside story is I struggled with drugs for a long time and just didn't feel like I had purpose. I have more purpose than I can deal with now. It's great. It's awesome, you know? Yeah. And it's like, even now that I've got so much purpose, how do I continue pushing forward? Not because I'm seeking something like unhealthy, right. But it's just like, you know what? I have like a new lease on life. So I really want to experience life to the fullest. And how can I continue to be educated and be balanced in that and really push myself? Like, you know, I finished the Colorado 14ers. And that was like, no,
that's huge. Right?
I did the traverses. I did like, you know, there's 4 great traverses. But really there's some of those that were just, you know, people die on them all the time. And I feel blessed. I mean, every time I'd go out, I'd be praying. Yeah. It's like before I even go, do I have peace about it? There's only been a couple of times where I didn't have peace. Yeah, like hiking into a cloud. Don't do that. That's where lightning is. That's the house for lightning. There's a cloud if you didn't science. You know, cool. But pushing yourself and like, you know, just seeing like I think sometimes about pushing yourself in these limits, you really, for me, I experienced God in a totally different way. Yeah. Because I'm telling myself, no, I'm doing something, do hard things.
Yeah. No, like that's so good. Like, don't always do stuff that's comfortable. When you stick with comfortable, you know, you're selling yourself short, and you don't grow, you don't change. Like again, that's the whole thing. Kind of just revolving around is change. You know? So you're changing your environment, you're changing your habits, you're changing your.
You can do it today. Yeah. So you're listening to this. If you're driving home, take a different route home.
Boom, do it.
Do it.
Flippy
That's not an ice bath. That's not no sugar. It's just like, just take a different route home. Yeah. And just see what God's doing over there.
It's true, man. I mean, I know for myself, first off, it wasn't necessarily because I wanted to do a new route. I'm just terrible with directions. So when I first came out here, dude, I used to take different routes all the time, dude. All different scenic routes. But it's cool because you get to see different things. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. I might check that out later. You know what I mean? So it's like even taking a new route home, something as simple as that, may not be an ice bath, may not be, you know, all the 14ers in Colorado, but man, you're living life a little differently, you know. That little change, you know, can make a whole difference.
Before you sit on the couch and eat a bag of chips today, before you do that, just go walk down the street and then come back. Don't go for a mile. Just anything you can do sometimes to change up your routine is like it could change like a butterfly effect. It could be the catalyst that you've been looking for. If you're bored,
find your wife down there. Yeah, you walk down, dude. Who knows, dude?
Yeah,
walk.
Yeah. There's just, I think, for me, I've been bored, and boredom has led me just into trouble. Yeah. David, you know his story with Bathsheba.
Right.
Dude, you should have been doing something else.
Come on, dude. No, but man, that's so cool. Like again, you guys really need to check out Clay's insider story, because even when you came out here, I remember you kind of mentioning, saying that, you know what, I had to keep myself busy, because if I, was just relaxed, I was going to get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
I had a buddy, shout out Shatori. He does a lot of my editing and different things like that. But he would always tell me just different things like, Josue, you're just, and like word for word, dude, you're just bored. I'm like, you're so right. Okay, never
There's
mind. Like, you know what I mean? Because like I'd be on the verge of doing something really dumb, and he'd just always just tell me like, dude, you're just bored right now. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Life is huge. There's so much to do. Yeah, I think that is a catalyst too for me to read and stuff. It's there's just so much to do in life. And, you can make little small changes before you do ice baths and 14ers that can be, monumental for your life and your call that God's got for you, because you were called to do great things.
That's true,
And to tap into that, there's just so many gifts and talents we have. Just the picture I get is like a Christmas gift. It's got the bow on it. Yeah. It's been sitting under the Christmas tree for years. Go open that thing.
Come on. So, question I throw at you, I love that analogy you bring out of that Christmas gift. What has been, because I think sometimes people are afraid. You know what I mean? Like they're afraid to touch that gift, or they're afraid to look deeper.
It's okay to be afraid.
And yeah, and that is absolutely.
People will be quoting scripture at you, Right. There's no fear, and like just really like you get in this place where it's like it's not okay to be afraid, but you're terrified.
Right.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay to be afraid.
Amen.
It's okay.
And so with that,
just don't live there.
what are some of the things that you've done to get over that?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So
just, you know what I mean? That's gonna just help someone who is, or may be at this moment. Like, you know what? And again, like, Clay's just making sure that you're aware. It is okay to be afraid, but amen. Let's not live there, though. Let's not make that our home. Let's not, use that as an excuse to give up, because, you have not failed too much.
Okay, I'm going to put you on point. Is there anything right now that you're afraid of doing? Is there any fear or hesitation about something that you're not doing? And whatever that thing is, you just need to go do it today. You need to. I mean, I've been so afraid of some of the 14er climbs, like I didn't sleep the night before.
Yeah.
I've been afraid, like I did Kilimanjaro, and I was afraid, like, what am I going to do? I'm going to land in Tanzania, and the people that we've got set up for us are actually thieves and robbers, and they're going to steal our money and kill us. I'm going to go.
Come on.
I'm just going to go. Because I think so. As it relates to ministry, it's like there's so many times we're just afraid. Maybe I'm supposed to start a small group. I'm supposed to start a church. But I'll wait until my money's okay with my job before I can be a bivocational minister. Right. Do it today. Call your friends and say, I'm going to open my Bible and read John 3:16, and we're going to have food. Just do that.
Yeah.
Just do the smallest thing. Like even looping back to that whole influencer thing. Yeah. Do the smallest win you can today. Because that's the catalyst to get you going where you need to be. And so just, if you're afraid, acknowledge that you're afraid about it. Say it out loud. I'm afraid to start a Bible study, or I'm afraid that people are going to reject me if I do this. Just do it. Yeah. And then tell me that. Yeah. Just do it.
But it's true though. Like we can laugh at that, and it probably was meant as a joke, but it's a powerful message. Just do it. James talks about faith without works is dead, and obviously faith is motivated by the love of God. So first off, guys, you guys are loved by the Lord. You guys have it in you, but if we keep dreaming about it, or keep man, this is gonna be nice one day. This is gonna be nice one day. Don't wait for one day. Because again, faith without that work, and just even the baby step to do it. I was just talking to a buddy of mine a couple days ago, and he's actually gonna be on this show soon, guys. So be looking out for him. But man, I was just telling him, like, when he was reading in Spanish, it sounds beautiful, man, beautiful. And I was telling him, like, dude, you gotta, I know you want to translate for this author and do different things like that, but just the things you share with me in your story is huge, man. Like,
Que se
do some
puede.
recording. Yeah, dude. Like, Viva la raza, dude. Like, go for it, dude. And he's like, yeah. I'm going to start recording tomorrow then. And I told him, no. Like, you don't necessarily have to go full 100% at it. But start making the plans. Before I started doing the show, it took me maybe, I think, 3 months of preparation of first the idea of what I want to look like, what I want to be called, what I want the logo to look like, who do I want to help me. It took time just even planning it out. So even when you're planning
And look at us now.
Right, we're here now.
We're doing an interview.
I'm with Clay, dude. The man, the myth, the legend. But you know what I mean? Like, you're planning, even planning is making those little steps as well. Even thinking of, like, how often do I want to do this? For you, I'm pretty sure you probably thought of, 30-day challenge. What am I going to do first? What am I going to go after? Even just thinking of it as the first step, and then you actually went after it and did it. So, I mean, I think that's awesome, man. I think, man, guys, really take into prayer just what Clay's talking about and just really getting after it and just, whether if you're a reader like me who has to read and devour a book, go for it. If you're a listener like Clay, then, hey, it doesn't matter. We're all wired differently, and there's no right or wrong in learning.
And you have options.
Exactly.
Just find what works for you and just keep pursuing. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
And if
this works.
Right. And if you're a listener too, go on YouTube. Test it out. There's some free audio books on YouTube as well that you can dive into.
A lot of the ones I mentioned are probably up there.
Boom. I know a lot of Maxwell stuff is definitely on there. I've definitely devoured some of those, some TD Jakes stuff as well. I like TD Jakes. Shout out TD. Man, last thing I just want to throw at you, Clay, is something that I ask everyone that I get a chance to interview, because we have a segment called Failing Forward Fridays.
Okay.
So it's all about, every month I'll list off a failure that I've done.
Yeah.
Or something that just I sucked at and I just was terrible at, or something I was afraid of, whatever. And so I'll be talking about that this coming Friday, guys. And so, but before we dive into that, just, again, the reason we do this is so we as believers, we as people who are going after it, doing what God's called us to do in leadership, whatever it may be, I want you guys to know none of it's perfect. And as I always say, if you wait till everything's perfect, nothing would ever get done. So with that, just so you guys can hear from Clay, and Clay's have mentioned, first off, been very vulnerable, mentioned some of the fears that he's faced. But what is probably one failure that you failed at, and how did you overcome that? And praise God, obviously it didn't stop you from what you're doing now. I mean, you're making a huge impact here at Karis, and man, you're bringing a lot of retention in, and again, you're making us all jealous, all us alumni, dude, jealous. Like, what the heck, where's Clay at when we're here? But one failure that you failed at, man, and what did you learn from that?
That's kind of like a bomb. So, without getting into too much specific stuff, it's like one of the things I think that has been like kryptonite that I've had to overcome is isolation, and that's where the devil eats my lunch. So being removed from relationship with people, I can kind of touch a little bit. Lori and I've been we've been doing marriage counseling, so that's bringing out all kinds of stuff for us, and this thing about as I don't know if it's just a man thing where even in leadership, you can feel isolated at the top, and you'll just continue to withdraw because you don't feel like being vulnerable is something that you can do or afford. And so if you're listening to this, it's like if you are in this isolated stage, that's where so much destructive stuff can happen in your life. And there was no infidelity or anything like that with me and Lori. It wasn't like that. It was just like we were just getting wedged further and further apart. And it just made me withdraw so much, just kept getting isolated. And so if you're there, it's like be intentional about not being in isolation. And that's kind of brought about some of our, we're doing counseling and it's, it's always bringing out the fun stuff. And, if you're single, marriage is hard. They say it's work when you get married. No, it is. It really is. And depending on, whatever baggage you bring to it, that's going to be a whole nother level of, stuff. But, Lori and I are just awesome. But, we're really trying to, pursue just a healthy, godly relationship too. And, for me, again, that kryptonite for me is isolation. So if you're in that place, that is a place of just, I can't recommend any more of anything I've said today, that if you're a leader, if you're a husband, if you're a wife, and you've seen yourself continually down this path of isolation where you're removing anybody to talk to you, you're in a very bad spot. And I want to call that to your attention that you need to find somebody. And don't just find anybody. I'm serious about that. You need to find somebody that is proven, like it's somebody that you can really go to and trust. Yeah. And I pray that right now that person would be in your life, that God would highlight that person for you, and that you could really, be vulnerable with somebody. If it did, you might need to find a counselor. You need, somebody that's really trained in these things. Yeah. But do not be isolated, because you will really set yourself up for failure, and it could be catastrophic.
Yeah.
Does that answer?
That does, man. Thank you just for first off just being vulnerable like that and just sharing with us. And guys, I hope that's you take that as an encouragement, because again, like I say, Clay's doing awesome things, man, brother. You are doing great things.
Yeah,
I'm excited for you, and just what's to come for the future students. They are truly blessed to have you. Just as that, again, that person that's going to bring the fun and just the function and fun and funeral. You can have fun in a funeral, but man, guys, just take that and just make that something that you can just hold on to, because you know what, Clay is getting up and he's doing it. It's just like the proverb says, a righteous man may fall 7 times, but he gets back up. Yep. So if you've fallen, you've missed it, praise God to get back up. And I'll be encouraging you and sharing again something I felt at this month on Friday, and just we encourage you guys as leaders. We don't always get it right. We miss the mark. It's okay, but don't let that stop you.
Keep
God's
going.
grace is good. Keep it going. Keep it going. I love the challenge that you said today, Clay. So I encourage you guys. I challenge you guys. Do something different today. Do something different today. Look at maybe doing some of the challenges. You can follow Clay on Facebook. So Clay, you're about to get a bunch of followers. So go check out Clay Caldwell on Facebook. Again,
send me a message too, like, hey, if you send something to my inbox, because I get a lot of people that are, in other countries and stuff, and then they want money from me, and I'm never going to do that. Yeah. But just say, hey, I heard your testimony on the Heavy Revy Show, and I just want to follow and see what's going on in your life. Send me something like that, and I'll accept your friend request. I just don't,
Sure.
Yeah, send me a message so I know who you are and that kind of thing. Just random people that are, just being weird.
all you weird randoms, still send out the friend request. Clay's fine, okay. No, but go check out that.
I'm Adventure Clay on Instagram too, so yeah, I'm a lot easier there. But Adventure Clay on Instagram. So
boom, scratch that. No Facebook. Go to Instagram. Okay. But anyways, check out the Insider Story. I'm telling you guys, it's awesome. I was really encouraged and blessed by it as well. Thank you guys for just taking time out of your day to listen to us and hear us out. We will be seeing you guys on Friday. That's when we're going to be live on Facebook. So I've been more than happy to see you guys there and interact with you guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have a blessed day. And don't forget, you cannot grow past your revelation. So make this your own. Pray about it. Talk to the Lord about it. How can God reveal this to, make it your own, to just be growth hungry? And praise God. You know what? God's going to reveal it to you. So thank you again for viewing. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Friends and family, thank you for viewing this message. We hope this episode has inspired you. Please share it for others to hear. Remember, we are now on iTunes Podcasts and Spotify, so check us out. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.